Hey everybody, it's Gus from Askewed Reviews, and it's a new episode of Creature Madness! Now let's say for some reason you don't know what that is. Well, let me explain it to you. My buddy Matthew over at Horror Madness decided to create a movie club with some of his good friends here online. And so now we all collectively watch a creature feature, and then each of us does our own review for that film. Now, aside from myself and Matthew, the other members of this club are Ashley, Amariah, Ryan, Jen, and Bambi. And speaking of Bambi, it was actually her turn to suggest a film for all of us to watch. Her suggestion was the 2005 film The Descent, directed and written by Neil Marshall. I've always enjoyed watching this movie, so I'm always happy when it comes back around into my rotation. Now, there is a sequel to this film, but I definitely have not seen it as many times just because I didn't feel it was as good as the first one. So let's talk about the story for this film. We have our main character who lives a very adventurous life with her friends, doing all sorts of outdoor activities. Now, her most recent excursion involves her and two of her besties going whitewater rafting. After this trip, she, her husband, and her daughter are all traveling home in a car. Unfortunately, there's an accident which looks like it's pulled straight from a Final Destination movie, and she is the only one to survive. We then jump ahead to 1 year later, where her friends have convinced her to come out and do another adventure together. Now, this time around, they've decided to go cave diving in the Appalachian Mountains. So, two things right off the bat. Number one, cave diving is the number one thing I would never do in my entire life. You'd probably get me to do skydiving before doing cave diving. Secondly, the Appalachian Mountains, the amount of horror stories I've heard of being related to that area, I'm out. Never gonna happen. But anyway, back to the story. So this group of friends goes cave diving. And while they're exploring this cave, there is unfortunately a cave in that causes them to have to go further into this. Now, of course, because this is a horror movie, they get lost and it's all about them trying to find their way out. Now, the movie could have been scary enough right there, but they've added an extra element as there are creatures within the mines that are fully adapted to their surroundings and are, of course, coming after all of the members of this group. So, if you're not a fan of enclosed spaces, the dark, or of course jump scares, you are either going to hate or love this movie. Now, there's a lot to enjoy about this movie. It's a great adrenaline rush, it's got some really great sequences in it. It also has some intriguing moments of mysteries involving the creatures, and of course, the secrets between the friends. So, for me, on my scale, I'm going to give The Descent a 4 out of 5. And if you want to watch it for yourself, it is currently streaming for free on Tubi, Fubo, Hoopla, Vudu, and Plex. Now is the point in my version of Creature Madness where I discuss the creatures in the film and a little bit more about them. So these nasty things right here at one point were human. Now, whether or not they decided to stay in here, were trapped here, or just over generations became these things, they are kind of no longer human. They've adapted to their surroundings. They are blind, but of course their other senses are heightened. We of course can't forget that they are carnivores and cannibalistic. Now, the one thing that doesn't make sense to me is their ability to climb on everything, including ceilings. Now, I do get it, like the idea of over generations adapting to your surroundings, but I just can't imagine how humans could adapt so far that they could cling to ceilings and climb across them in such a manner. But who knows? I'm not a scientist of any kind, so maybe that is possible. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Creature Madness. And if you'd like to watch everyone else in the group's reviews for this film, just look up the hashtag Creature Madness.